What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. Today's guest is an innovative industry leader. She has more than 14 years experience in the lodging industry. She has a passion for people and pineapples. She owns 3 hotels, the Hampton Inn and Suites in Scottsburg, Indiana, the Staybridge Suites in Fishers, Indiana, and the Home 2 in El Reno, Oklahoma. She also wrote a book recently called How to Buy a Hotel, Roadmap to Hotel Ownership. We'll put all that in the liner notes. And she is the founder and hospitality strategist at the Vonne Group. Ladies and gentlemen, Davonne Reaves. Welcome, Davonne.
Woo, yeah. I
And
feel like a horn. The crowd goes wild.
Bah, 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 bah. The crowd goes wild, right? We just blew the air horn. So, Davonne, I know that you've been in the industry for 14 years. I feel like in the past 6 months, after all of that hard work over 14 years, you've become an overnight success. So that's kind of like a joke, right? You've put in all this work and now you're an overnight success. I'm seeing you blow up everywhere. How amazed are you with the kind of rocket ship that you're flying right now?
Still crazy. I still can't believe it. I just spoke in Chicago this past weekend and people were coming up to me. It's like, oh my gosh, Davonne, I follow you. We got to take a selfie. I brought your book. I brought it for you to sign it. And oh my gosh, I saw you. Do you remember me from last year? So it's a little weird. I went to, I spoke at the Boutique Lodging Conference, Lodging Leaders Association Conference in New York matter of fact, last week, I think. And the kind of the same thing. And I saw my old boss. So it's kind of weird. It's weird. It's weird when people know you before you can, like, I don't have to introduce myself anymore. So it's kind of weird.
Well, you don't have to introduce yourself, but how was my introduction?
Oh my gosh, you get 2 thumbs up. You got an A+.
Yes.
Horn.
Okay, so one of the things, well, there's so many things I'm curious about, but on your path to hotel ownership, I'm very curious about, in your 14 years, like, how did you finally make the jump that's like, you know what, I want to own hotels and this is how I'm going to do it?
Actually, the jump came, I was a part of Under 30 Gateway. So it's not, I don't think it's around anymore, but it's under the American Hotel Lodging Association. And was for hotel professionals or lodging professionals under the age of 30. And I was in operations at the time. And I just assumed everybody else was going to be in operations. I didn't know that there were any jobs outside of working, outside of the hotel or above property level. And at that time, a lot of folks who became they're still my friends to this day. They were developing hotels, owning hotels. I'm like, wait, what? You can own a hotel? And they're like, some of them, they inherited a hotel. But either way, the fact that they own a hotel and now they're like on their like 3rd or 4th, I was like, wait, we're not even 30 yet, and of course it's making me feel like this small. And we got these people all the way up here, right? And so that was just a light bulb, like, oh my gosh, I can own a hotel. And there wasn't a pathway, there wasn't a roadmap, there wasn't like wasn't Google like it is today, or YouTube University, or social media, or even podcasts where you kind of listen to kind of help you navigate to get you started. And like, I even went to the CEO of Hyatt. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to buy a hotel. And he's like, wait, it's like, it wasn't a pathway, like, and so I just had to like figure it out. So I took a non-paid internship at Horwath HTL. So shout out to Paul Breslin. And you should have him on your podcast too. Shout out to Paul Breslin. I worked with him I worked non-paid for him for 3 months. So I worked there in the morning, I worked at the Hyatt at night, and to pay my bills. This is post-graduation. And I really loved it. I was intrigued, and I was there for about 2 years, and I went to CH&M Warnick in Boston, based out of Boston, Beverly area, North Shore area. And again, more asset management, consulting, more on the transactional side. In 2017, I got bit by the entrepreneurship bug and formed my own group or firm, the Vonne Group. and 2019 / 2020 partnered with my good friend from school, Jessica Myers. We started Epic Collective, and we partnered with Nassau Investments based out of Ohio. And that's where we got our first hotel deal together on my own, meaning not, I wasn't in corporate. And that was the iconic, the one where people heard about me from, the iconic 8.3 Home 2 Suites deal in the famous Arena, Oklahoma.
Awesome. So one of the things that I've found, and my dad would always tell this to me, he's like, Dan, you can do whatever, you can accomplish anything, you just have to put your mind to it. And for me, so often, I just didn't even, there are so many times in all of our lives, but for me in particular, starting a company at 26, or I just didn't know any better. And I was like, okay,
Right.
I'm just gonna do it. And I think it was just because I just didn't know.
Right.
And I just tried it. So, and that's my story. Just like, okay, I'm going to put my mind to it. I'm going to do it. Like, what created the shift in your head? I guess it might've been working with Paul that just said, hey, you can accomplish anything. And this is kind of how you do it. Like, what flipped that switch for you? Because oftentimes from all these conversations that I've had, I find that switch or that hurdle to get over is actually quite surmountable. It's just oftentimes we just don't know how to take that first bite, so you will.
Yeah, I've kind of always been a go-getter. Always been competitive. I played clarinet in high school and I always had to be first chair, or like first chair for those who are not in band. That means like you are, you get the solo projects, you're number one, you get seen, you get heard,
And you're playing the melody and not the harmony.
Right. So that was me. That was like, I always had to be number one. Same thing with being president of an organization, getting good grades. Like I just always been that. So it's kind of always been in me. I did get a little distracted probably when I got to college. I probably wasn't as ambitious as I used to be as I was in high school. I will say that I got distracted a lot, all those parties. But but working at the Hyatt, that's where I got my start working as a front desk agent. And like, again, I wanted to be, employee of the month. I was striving to be, you know what I mean? That was just me. I always wanted to be the best. And so I thought, my goal was to be a general manager. Because I thought that was the top position. And then once I realized it was the hotel owner, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be a hotel owner. I didn't know what it meant. I'm like in my 20s. I don't know what that means, that you're owning the building and the business and the real estate and the complexities and raising capital. I didn't know any of that. I was just like, I just want to buy a hotel. And that was it.
I love that. So as you're talking about that, I'm reminded of a friend of mine who came up through operations, right? He went on this path. He was a general manager. And then he was a food and beverage manager. Then he's like, my goal is I just want to be a GM. That was like his life goal. Then somehow he became a GM and then moved beyond it to when you're talking about lenders, equity partners, all this, like kind of raising the capital stack. To me, owning a hotel or developing a hotel, it's like I have a really hard time getting my head around that capital stack and understanding like, where do all the sources of funds come? How do I get all this lined up? Like he managed to figure it out on his way. Like, what was the big like aha moment for you trying to understand that, okay, there's this big moat of required capital to own a hotel, but you know what? I'm going to figure it out. And this person helped me, and boom, here we are. What was that step for you?
So I learned a lot in that non-paid internship because we had to help our clients at the time develop that capital stack and help, help raise capital. But when the type of deals that I was working on, they were really, really, really large deals. And so you have to get into like capital markets, meaning you bring in a broker to help you kind of facilitate and get that capital stack together. So I wasn't as hands-on because the broker would help do it. With the Home 2 Suites deal, it was less than 10 million, so it was a smaller deal. So we didn't necessarily need to bring in the capital stack wasn't as complicated. So I was actually overcomplicating it.
Oh, tell me about
Yeah,
that. Like, how are you overcomplicating it?
well, because before, like I probably could have owned a hotel a long time ago. It's just that I was overcomplicating the process. I wasn't thinking of starting small, bringing friends and family together and buying a hotel, looking for the deal. Like I wasn't, because I was so in the trenches. I didn't like wake up and be like, duh, Davonne, the light bulb didn't click. And so I was overcomplicating it because I was so used to looking at larger deals. As I mentioned before, you have to bring in brokers or get into the capital markets to help you find both the both sides of the capital stack, meaning equity and debt.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you get into the smaller transactions or the smaller deals, probably like 10 million or less, or 5 million or less, you don't really need to bring in a broker to help you find capital. That's something that you should be able to do, on your own, friends and family, using different platforms like crowdfunding platforms. So it's a lot easier to raise capital now. I mean, it's still hard, but
did you use a crowdfunding platform to get your first one going?
No, I didn't. I used the old school way of crowdfunding, which is friends and family. Yeah, I got this
Calling
deal.
up.
Yeah. Actually, people heard, they just listened to me because at the time, no one was talking about hotel ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm like this Black girl talking about hotel ownership, and I'm like on podcasts and webinars. I'm like, who is this girl talking about hotel ownership? And so I kind of started making it cool and making it more attainable. And so people just started reaching out and they wanted to learn more about it. And I started developing courses and everything. So I was able to build a community and to build that trust. Right. And so I was able to and then started talking to my friends and family more about hotel ownership. And of course, they do their due diligence, which I always recommend that everybody do your own due diligence. Investing in hotels is very risky, just because it's real estate, right? Yeah, that's how I was able to raise funds the first time. Actually, both times on all three transactions was just raising capital from
Wow.
friends and family. We didn't have to use the platform.
Okay, I'm curious because I'm seeing a lot of people for real estate now. There's always been this crowdfunding platform. It seems to be growing a little bit, but I don't know. I haven't seen it grow tremendously in the hotel space. What do you think's holding that back?
I don't think there's not really a sole platform. Who
Mm.
knows? Something may come in the future. There's not a sole platform.
The pineapple platform.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. There's actually, now that I think about it, there's really not a platform, a crowdfunding platform. Now there are websites, but they're not a platform. Mm-hmm. So the difference is the platform, you're just putting your deal on there and you're raising capital for other investors. You're not partnering with someone else. Now mm-hmm. There are crowdfunding websites out there, but you have to partner with someone else on a deal. So that can slow things down, right?
Yeah.
Going back and forth with the partnership, finding the deal, meeting whatever their deal requirements, partnering with people that you don't know. Sometimes that just takes a long time to just go back and forth, and sometimes it just never gets done, right? Yeah. There are some crowdfunding platforms or broker-dealer sites, not getting too technical. There's a minimum requirement that you have to have in your portfolio. So if you're a new hotel owner, or if you're new to the space and you don't have X amount of dollars in your real estate portfolio, or or you're not an accredited investor. So those type of barriers can limit some of the deals. So those are some of the reasons why, in my opinion, that the hotel industry hasn't really been able to capitalize or take advantage of the crowdfunding platforms out there. Because there's a lot of underserved folks who would love to invest, but they may not be an accredited investor. For those who don't know what an accredited investor is, an accredited investor is someone who makes over $200,000 a year, or they have a net worth of $1 million, excluding their primary residence.
So we'll talk about more of on the funding side. As I want to get into your book in a little bit, but before we kind of switch gears, I've always found that accredited investor, I guess it's important because, like, if people are making more than X a year, or they have a net worth over $1 million, it kind of shows that maybe they're a bit more savvy, with money or they know how to do it. But I also find it really limits the available pool of people who, just want to, in little chunks, get their money to grow at a different rate of return than, let's say, just your regular stock and bond index fund or whatever. And I think I understand the intention behind having this accredited investor threshold, but I also feel like it keeps a lot of people out of the game. What's your thought on that?
Oh, I agree with you. Absolutely. It's it's actually some deals that I wasn't able to, people couldn't invest in a deal because they weren't accredited investors. You know what I mean? And so, like, to your point, that limits opportunities, that limit growth, that limits some folks from different ethnic backgrounds.
Totally.
It limits folks from different, cultures, from different, economical backgrounds where they can't grow. They can't go to that next level, like you mentioned, of getting that maybe a greater rate of return because they're not able to tap into those investments, because there are some investments that's only for accredited investors.
Yeah. And again, I want to tap into that one too, because to me, it seems like that is like something structurally that could be addressed in a safe way, that people could participate in these. But
now, there are some funds, there are some platforms where you can be accredited and non-accredited investors. It was through the Jobs Act passed by our former president, Barack Obama. And so he allowed some funds and some people to establish funds and establish different crowdfunding platforms where both accredited and non-accredited investors can invest. There's just not a lot for real estate.
Okay. Well, I want to learn more about that. But before we go too far down the road of your road to owning hotels, okay, so you started off with your wanting to be in the first line, or the first soloist on clarinets. Then you started working at, you're in college, you're working at the Hyatt, you're doing an unpaid internship. You want your name on that employee of the month wall.
I got it.
Of course,
I checked the box. Of course, I did. And
of course,
I was first chair. Come on,
I know
now.
you. I know you did it all. But what draws you to hospitality? Why do you love it so much?
You know what? It is the people, the amount of people you come into contact with, both internally and externally. Sometimes I really do miss working at the hotel. I always thought, this past time I didn't get a chance to talk to the front desk agent because it was really busy. But normally I take the time to talk to the front desk, ask them how they're doing, nice to them. I try to be as nice as possible to front desk agents, because you know what? There are a lot of mean people to front desk agents. So my people who listening, you need to think twice about mean to front desk agents, okay? It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work that we have to do. Not even just front desk agents, hotel employees, period, okay?
Yeah.
Especially right now with them, a lot of people being overworked, underappreciated, underpaid. So y'all listening, be as nice as possible to hospitality employees, okay?
But you know what I love how you said that? You said be nice as possible to us, right? Even as an owner, you could still consider yourself part of the whole team. Like you're remembering what got you up on that wall, right? And all the different assholes that may have come across your front desk to you.
They're probably listening.
Good.
Probably listen. I still remember some of them, actually. I remember some of them. I remember the mean ones, and I remember the really nice ones too. Yep.
And I'm hoping that there's a lot more nice ones. There has to be a lot more nice ones than mean ones, right?
Yeah,
but
they were.
If you think about, okay, so you're drawn to it. You love the work environment. You love interacting with people, both internal and external. But if you were to look at the thread that ties it all together, how do you define hospitality?
People. You can automate the hospitality industry as much as you possibly can. It's the people. It's even some people who would prefer to stay in a hotel over at Airbnb just because of that human connection and that human interaction, right? There are some people who don't want to deal with people at all. They want to go to their room and you will never know they're in a hotel. They'll never come to the front desk. They'll never ask, they'll never do anything, right? But then you have some people who they still love a bartender making their drink. They still love going to the front desk agent and see how they can get an upgrade. you know, they still, you know what I mean? So they still want to talk to that person who's helping them plan their event. They still want to see that person there. So some things you just can't replace. Technology just can't replace it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's the hospitality industry is a people business. It's a service business. It's been around forever. It's going to be around forever. I don't think anything's going to be able to replace it, no matter how much technology comes into place. Even if you have a hospitable robot, guess what? It's still going to be hospitable, right?
Yeah.
It still want nice. You know, people still want nice. They want clean. They want to feel warm. They want to feel welcome.
And we're like, and going back in your life, like, where are you, like, where did you learn that? And where did you learn to appreciate that?
You know, my mom is really nice. She's always smiling. Yeah. My grandma, she wasn't a smiler. My grandma didn't smile a lot, but she was really nice. So I guess a combination of my mom smiling all the time and then my grandma being nice, I guess it created. Because my dad, he wasn't the people person. He was a first responder, but he wouldn't be meant for hospitality. he was meant for putting out fires, and that was it.
Yeah. Oh, so he was a fireman, or is, or was?
Yeah, was. He's retired. He's passed away. He's transitioned, but yeah, he was a fireman for 25 years. And guess what?
Wow.
I did not know he put out fires until his retirement party. Because people were telling stories. That's what he said. He said, "That what do you think I did for 25 years?" He never talked about it.
You didn't know your dad was a fireman, or you thought he was behind a desk?
I knew he was a fireman, but I just didn't think of him like putting out. I mean, I just didn't think. He never talked about it.
Oh, so it's probably like, you hear about all those, veterans from World War II that never wanted to talk about what they did. Yeah, like you were there and you hit a wall. It was just like, boom. This was
when he retired, he started telling me stories and, and he used to say this, back in the day, a long time. I remember pagers. Yeah. When we were growing up, he had a pager. He's like, Davonne, I'll call me anytime, even if you have to page me, even if I'm in a fire, I'll call you back. Again, it didn't dawn on me because at his retirement party, people kept telling stories how he like saved their life. I'm like, wait, you put out fires, Daddy? Like he really was like, Davonne, like what did you? He literally said, what did you think I did for 25 years?
I don't know. That's funny.
I was like, I always thought the fires, I guess, was on your day off. You just never talked about it.
Wow. Okay, so then respecting.
He wasn't expecting that.
No, but that's fun. But so then respecting and understanding your dad was not the hospitality person, but then you have your mom and grandma over here. Like, what did they teach you? What did they impart to you on your journey into hospitality? And what, like, on your day-to-day, from transitioning from operations to ownership, like, where do you hear them whispering into your ears on the day-to-day?
So my grandmother, she always says to treat people better than you want to be treated. So that's always been ingrained to me. Even people who did her wrong, and I would say, Grandma, they did wrong to me. Kill them with kindness, right? It don't matter how evil a person can be. If you still kill them with kindness and still be nice, sometimes you just bring it out of them. And then, like I said, my mom always smiled. So I just always smile. Even when I had messed up teeth, I was still smiling. But I got my teeth fixed now, so
your teeth are beautiful.
I smile even more. Thank you. Thanks for braces. Hey.
Great.
Yeah.
Now you're giving me mouth envy.
You got nice teeth too. And then my mom, she has a bubbly personality. So I guess I got it from her. She's really you think I'm something, my mom's something else. So so I guess that's where those combinations, and then how I worked and so actually how I got started working at the hotel. It was I was at Georgia State University. I was a student there, and they were asking some of the students, the ACVB, the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, they were asking students to volunteer because they wanted to get Atlanta visitors their perspective of Atlanta. And what came out of the survey, so we were surveying people who left Atlanta. And so they thought, well, let's send college students because who turns down college students? So I had my little name tag and it said Georgia State University, Davonne Reaves. And I think I still had that name tag when I think about it. And so the rooms exec came up to me and was like, you smile a lot. Scott Snipe, shout out to Scott. He got me in. It's his fault. He came up to me and he said, Davonne, he said, you smile a lot. Do you want a job? It pays $10 an hour. I was like, what? I'm about to be rich. $10 an hour? I said, yes, absolutely. And so that's how I got in the front desk. That's how I got in the hotel business.
Okay. So someone saw a good a quality in you. It happened to be the smile. And they roped you in. And then you're like, this is amazing. Okay. So now you've worked in operations of hotels. You own 3 hotels right now.
Yeah.
And then in the real estate segment, there's from multifamily to office to residential to whatever to hospitality. What's keeping you in the hospitality silo, so to speak?
At first hospitality was my passion, right? I love the service industry. Like I mentioned before, I love the people. Then I saw the amount of money you could make, right? By owning one. I said, it's a lot of money here. And then, which opened my eyes to look at other commercial real estate asset classes, such as multifamily, like you mentioned, office. But I'm still bitten by the hospitality bug. And then now my passion became my purpose, because there's so many people who reach out to me who work in hotels, and there's so many different minorities and just people in general. They're like, I didn't know I could own a hotel. And here you come, Davonne. So it's like, okay, I'm here for a reason. I've been inspiring people. I didn't do it intentionally. I just wanted to own a hotel one day because that was my goal. And it was like check box and then boom, Mm-hmm. Now it's like, okay, I have more work to do. And plus I like the discounts.
You like to discount?
The discounts, yeah, because when you work at a hotel, you get discounts, but I stopped working at a hotel. So I needed to get my discounts back. Yeah.
So then by now owning hotels, you can put in that the code, and then you always get a better rate.
Yeah, I get my discount code. Yeah, that's
good.
Really what it is.
Oh, that's the real motivation. So for a sec, now I don't believe you 1 second for that's why you do it, for the discount code, because just before that, you said you were inspiring and impacting others, and like, hey, how do you do this? How do you get to know this? And I know from speaking with you before, the feeling I get from you is that with all of that good energy and the big smile, I think, I don't know, I'm curious what your purpose is, but it's really to inspire others, right? Is that like, what is your purpose?
So my purpose is to increase the percentage of African-American hotel owners, increase, women hotel owners, increase the folks who work in hotels, and lead to more front desk agents who become the hotel owners. So it's just been my purpose that this is bigger than me. I'm a shy person. People don't believe me. So a lot of this attention is a little different for me. So it's a lot, but I've realized that this is bigger than me. And every time I share my story, if I just inspire one person, it could be a student, it can be, a child, it can be anybody. If I inspire one person, I feel like that my job has been complete. I'm done.
I mean, that resonates with me so much, because part of the reason why I've started doing this podcast is it's basically like, I have these conversations with really great, smart, awesome, influential people. And then I feel like, there are a lot of people listening. So in some way, I'm impacting them or changing the way that they're thinking. Right. And it kind of draws me into it. And I don't know, I get, it's like, it's a bigger feeling than money or other accomplishments. It's that idea of impact.
That is true. Yeah.
So when you're doing this, before you wrote the book, you have people coming up and saying, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? And you're inspiring and impacting others. Then you
Mhm.
decide to write this book. So instead of doing this like one-to-one communication, now you've written a book, and now, you know, thousands of people can read this roadmap of how to do it. How did you like, how did you take that step to write a book? And I'm asking you because from all these conversations I'm having, I'm in the process of, I've started writing chapters and collecting everything, but like, what was the big motivation for you? Because I want to learn from you in taking that first step to write the book.
Actually, my community. So I've built a community, probably close to 20,000 folks. And I mean community on social media, email lists. They basically were like, well, Davonne, is there a book on how to buy a hotel? And I was like, not really. And I started looking for one, and I really couldn't find one. So I was like, well, let me just write it. And I mean,
Just
it
like
really
that.
wasn't a book.
I'm just gonna write it.
Yeah,
Let me just write
the
it.
book. Let me just write the book. Like, it's, I mean, because people kept asking for it, and then I Googled, and I was like, it's really not a book on how to buy a hotel. And so there are some information out there, but it's not easy enough for like the average person, right? Because we have to think, some of the people who come across to me, they've never owned it. It's like a foreign concept to own a hotel. Like they can't wrap their brain around it, right? So we have to go through that and then get to the different steps. And so basically, I've been teaching on this since 2019. So this has just been a combination of my community talking to me, trial and error, because of course I know how to do it, but when you have somebody that's brand new and they don't know, we have to break it step by step. And also with my book, I created a speaker series. So for the folks who buy the book, I have a speaker series. So I have my business partner, Mike Ely, on there. He walks you through how to analyze a hotel deal in 20 minutes or less.
Whoa.
I have a good friend of mine. Her name is Shannon Steele. She's an African-American female hotel owner. She talks about how she got into the hotel space. So she's not from the hotel industry. She's from the finance side, from banking. And then I have Dr. Amina James. She's actually one of my hotel investors. And she talks about how she got into investing in the hotels. Because she's not from the hospitality space. So I brought in also brought in Andre Albritton, and he talks about how to invest in REITs, because not everybody wants to buy a hotel. Some people may just simply want to invest in it, right? So the book, but I'm big on education, right? You want to be, informed. You want to make the best decision as possible. There are a lot of people who will, try to steer people in the wrong direction. And so I try to put as much information as possible and lead them to as many resources so they can really do their due diligence. And so the speaker series is about about 5 classes where they can just listen, after they read the book or during the book or whenever, and it kind of just helps them. It was a part of their pre-order experience. So the people who pre-ordered the book, they actually got a chance to listen in on it live and ask questions live. And so now we have the replays where people can, they get lifetime replays, lifetime access to the information where they can listen in. So that's a bonus feature for the book.
Wow. And then what was step one in organizing your thoughts and creating the outline to write the book?
Just like I said, my community, them asking questions. I've been teaching a lot of courses, so I've kind of learned the flow from feedback from other people. So I realized, okay, it's mindset. Okay, people want to then people kept asking me, well, Davonne, how did you do it? Like, what's your background? So then I put that in there, right? So then how do you analyze a deal? Davonne, what are some of the programs for minorities? Okay, Davonne, what are the different types of hotels? So I kind of outline it as a flow, like if you were to buy a hotel. Because if I make it all over the place, you're going to get confused, right? Because a lot of times people are step by step. I'm not a step by step person. I'm all over the place. But a lot of people, they need a step by step. They need a checklist. They need to read it and be able to take notes. So I did bring in an editor. So I wrote the information. Sometimes what people, I transcribe a lot of stuff. So I spoke it. And then I'm not a writer. I hate writing. Yeah.
I love writing.
Yeah, just give me a thing and record it. And so that's what I did. And so I worked with the editor.
Press record and stand back.
There you go, baby. And so Annalise, she edited for me, got the graphics and everything made. I self-published, so this is a self-published book. So it's on, you can purchase it on through Amazon. You get a paperback copy from Amazon or a digital copy. And it's also on my website as well. So simple.
And we'll
as
be
far
sure,
as,
we'll put that up in the show notes as well, so that there'll be an easy link to that.
Awesome. The biggest thing is actually just getting it done. I think I meet so many people who have books in their head, and it's really hard for them to get it. It's just getting it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as structuring it, like I said, and also when you bring on an editor, or if you have to bring in a copywriter to help you write it, actually, at least was my editor / like co-writer, because like I said, I don't like writing. But a lot of times when you have another person, I like to get people outside of the industry to take a look at it, because it's foreign to them. So if it doesn't so a lot of the stuff, it didn't make sense to her. So that was good, because then I was able to tweak it. So that way, for someone who's not in our industry, who don't know what ADR, they don't know what RevPAR, they don't know what that stuff means. So it needs to be broken down in a way where they could be like, okay, I get it now. I know where to go. I know we're tracking, we're good.
Now that's awesome, because again, writing that book, it ties into your purpose, which is increasing the path of ownership within hotels.
Yeah.
To minorities and those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged.
Yeah.
So when you think about your purpose and then writing the book and getting out there and all the work that you're doing, like what's exciting, like what progress are you seeing, and what's exciting you about all of the work that you've done?
Oh my gosh, it brings me in. So I have a Facebook group, and people posting and saying how they're looking to invest in a REIT. You know, I have somebody who just went under contract for their first hotel. I have people who are investing in hotels. So it's like, it's overwhelming. I get so excited when people take the information that they learned from me, and they've never invested in anything before ever.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're investing, because investing in real estate is, once you understand the fundamentals, it's kind of easier to dibble and dabble in other things. And so now folks, they're like, oh, now I can actually own. And then they're sharing this information with their children, and now they're having these conversations at the dinner table. And so, I mean, just the simple fact that they heard me on a podcast, or that they heard me speak at a conference, or they read my book, or they saw my Facebook ad, or so, oh my goodness, it's just amazing. Just the community and the love and support. And now there's some people who still don't believe it's possible. That's fine. It's always naysayers. That's fine. Whatever. I'm not worried about the naysayers.
Well, right. And okay, so then, okay, let's talk about the naysayers for a second. So,
yeah.
Okay, the path to ownership,
yeah,
equity, debt, making it happen. How many times were you said no before the green light happened?
Oh my gosh, I was saying no a lot of times. And it wasn't, I don't even think it was because of my color. Fortunately, I haven't experienced as much racism as some people. I've experienced a lot of ageism because I'm young.
Oh, you're too young to do this.
I'm too young. So I've always been the youngest. So it wasn't because, oh, it's because you're Black. Because I've always been a lot of times the only Black person in the room, you know, the only female in the room. So I didn't feel like a door was shut, because so many other people blasted those doors for me, and I'm grateful for them, and I stand on their shoulders. But it was, oh no, you're too young. And I have like a youthful face. And so people, you know, and I'm kind of bubbly, you know, so sometimes people take it as like, okay, she immature, she don't know what she talking, you know what I mean? They don't take me seriously. And so, because as my dad would say, I'm not pit bullish enough, you know. And so a lot of times I experience the ageism. Is it people who, you know, who basically like, no, they didn't think I could raise capital, or they didn't want to partner with me, or they didn't want to give me a chance. So that's what probably I experienced. And I'm not experiencing as much, because I think people are like, okay, yo, this chick is serious. Like, okay, she's not playing. Like, she gonna figure it out regardless if I help her or not. You know what I mean? So, because when I get focused, it's another thing coming. You better
You
watch
got to
out.
stand back. Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
don't.
I mean,
Nobody is gonna tell me no.
yeah, I'm totally picking that up in a major way. So
Yeah.
then, so let's say like you're getting going, you're not getting
Yeah.
going, you're gone. So
Yeah.
like you have 3 hotels now.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what's the goal on like portfolio of hotels, but also number of people impacted, and maybe which one's more important to you?
You know what I would like to see? Well, I do want a Hyatt. I'm gonna have a Hyatt in my portfolio. I think everybody knows I want a Hyatt. The CEO of Hyatt, Mark Howell, amazing. Everyone knows I want a Hyatt. So that's my next baby. I'm gonna get one. It's just
Okay.
a full circle, you know, just a full
Yeah.
circle. That's all it is.
And you're
I just
manifesting
Hyatt.
it. You're putting it out there. Now it's going to
Yeah,
happen.
it's gonna happen. I'm a Hyatt girl forever in the Hyatt world. You know, that's the only hotel I worked at. But in 5 years, I can't wait for somebody to say, I took your class, I saw you on tour, I heard you speak, and I just closed on my first hotel. I can't wait for somebody to say, Davonne, I closed on my 3rd hotel. I can't wait until somebody says, Davonne, I have 5 hotels now because I took your course.
Wow.
That's what I'm striving for. I can't wait for somebody to say that to me, or their children come up to me and say, you know, my mom told me about you years ago and it's possible. And so now I own my own hotel.
I love, and increasing the path of ownership, which is really impacting not just the owners, but all the people that work there. It has a real halo effect for just where the hotel is. I've heard this saying, I don't know if it's a saying, but I've heard it said that, you know, talent is uniformly distributed. It doesn't matter race, it doesn't matter socioeconomic standards or whatever, but opportunity is not uniformly distributed, right? So
that's true.
I guess in a way you're giving opportunity to those who will read the book, listen to the course, reach out. But like, how do we create more opportunity for more people?
Doing what you're doing. By you bringing diverse people on your show from diverse backgrounds, now you're creating opportunity. When you are speaking at a conference or you're hosting an event and you have speakers and you notice that every person on that panel or every person at that conference or every person at that event, y'all all look alike. That's where you come into place.
Yeah.
And you say, you know what? I'm gonna bring a woman. I'm gonna bring a Black person. I'm gonna bring someone from the Asian community. I'm gonna bring, you know, someone from the Muslim community. I'm gonna bring, you know, someone from a millennial. I'm gonna bring all of these different to reflect what the world really looks like. And that's how more opportunity can be created. You know, I'm a believer in, you know, creating opportunity for everyone, right? I was raised, I don't see color. I really don't. And because I was fortunate enough to go to different schools where it was diverse. And so to me, you know, I have friends from China, I have friends from Russia, have friends from the Latin, you know, they're Latinos and Latinas, you know, the LGBTQ plus community, you know, so my son, he's 3, he's already been playing with so many different cultures, you know, because these people are my friends. I don't see color. So if I have an opportunity, I'm going to think, hey, you know what? It shouldn't just be just Black people. It should be somebody from the Hispanic community, right? Or Latino community. It should be somebody, you know, from the Asian community, right? Because when we think differently and everyone thinks differently, And when you bring in those different cultures and when you bring in those different mindsets, and I like to be around people who are smarter than me. All my friends are smarter than me. So when you bring those people around, you bring in all these different opportunities and ideas, and things starts coming together, and all these ideas and just amazing things start to happen. So that's how opportunity can be created when we look at a room, or when we do something, that we need to be intentional in making sure that we're more diverse.
Yeah. And I think it's so, and not to begrudge any panels or, I don't know, get-togethers or conferences where it's like everyone looks the same.
It's so boring.
It is boring.
It's a dry piece of toast, no jelly, no butter. It's the same
correct.
people.
It is the same people, but it's also, it doesn't take that much effort to just like get out of your comfort zone a little bit and get like, hey, let's get some different opinions and people who look different and all this, because again, I think like, especially the United States, you look at what we are, for all of our good and all of our bad, we're still a place that most everyone still wants to come to, right?
Right, exactly.
So we're doing something right with our branding, and I think we just need to all open up to that and just really, and I also don't understand why some people are saying like, you know, oh, diversity of opinion and thought is not the best place to be. And like, why do we have to do that for the sake of doing it? But I say that they're just wrong. I feel like we really need to lean into giving everyone a voice. And I think that's really where our strength is.
I agree. And now I think, you know, more people can create their own opportunity. So for example, let's say you shop your life around and you always want to be an author, and you know, different publishers or whoever wouldn't take you, or certain people won't work with you. Now you can self-publish your own book. Let's say you wanted to get featured on a podcast and nobody would ever accept you. Create your own podcast, right? So now we're in a space where you can literally be your own boss. You don't get, let's say you never get promoted at a hotel, or you never get promoted. You never get the dream job that you always wanted. Now you can start your own company.
Totally.
You know, so we're in a space where you can, but it's all up to you. It's all up to you. And that's what I've learned from talking to so many people, is that it starts with them and believing in them. And you have to believe in yourself. You have the confidence. And I wasn't always as confident, but once I started believing in myself, and once I realized that the only person who could tell me no is me, and once I started telling myself yes, and once I started believing in myself and really becoming extremely focused, I mean, that's just, I guess people thought I had an overnight success.
After 14 years of really hard work, right? Yeah, exactly.
Of the tears and the upsets, the letdowns, and just I'm still kind of like in awe. Like every time I get on stage, I'm here talking to you, I'm still in awe that I'm sitting here talking to you. That you invited me to share this space with you. I'm still in awe. So I'm very grateful. Because of where I came from. So I'm just, every time I get an opportunity, I'm grateful.
Well, now you're making me blush. And you said something a second ago where it was that you weren't always confident. And, you know, in just hearing your story, I've seen, and just in the limited amount of time and the stories that I've heard, there's like this hum or background noise of confidence that I get within you. Now, I know we can't be there all the time. Oftentimes our biggest roadblocks are between our two ears. It's in these 6 inches right here. To build on the idea that you weren't always confident, because we're not all confident all the time. What in your life, who or what event flipped that switch to like turn up the volume on your confidence?
So anybody who knows me, I'm a huge Beyonce fan. Okay. So yes, honey, I love me some Beyonce. So I feel like once you wait in line to see her for like 4 hours, you're automatically part of the Beehive, which I've done several times. But her music is so inspiring. Her music is so motivational. I've been around more and more women who are strong and powerful and confident. So just being around them and so shout out to my Shiro, Valerie Ferguson and Kathleen Bertrand and Erica Cross Beatty, who's I don't know if I use the cuss word, but they're just some bomb ass women. Okay. These are just some phenomenal women. So just being around them and just watching how they move and watching how they handle the room. And then they talk to little bitty old me. I'm like, what? I gotta be something. They talk to little bitty old me. And then with the combination of Beyonce, and then finally, even after all that, the light bulb just clicked. It said, Davonne, do you know who you are? I had to talk to myself. Like, Davonne, do you know who you are? Do you know what you have accomplished? Do you know what's inside of you? So it's sometimes where I have to remind myself and bring out the greatness in me. So that's where that confidence comes from. And it's been growing, just really just working on myself and realizing the greatness that I have inside of me, and just being happy and being at peace and being grateful and realizing how blessed I am. So that's what did it with the confidence, is just really realizing how blessed and fortunate I am.
Okay, so let's pretend it's a winter, cold, rainy day in Atlanta, and you're just not feeling it. What's your number one go-to Beyonce song?
What? Wait, number one go-to, child. So every time I buy a new hotel, I play Move Forever. I walk through the lobby. Oh, I haven't done it with the last two, but I did it with El Reno. So I always walk through the lobby with a Beyonce song.
Like in your earphones, or like you turn up the music in the whole lobby?
Yeah, yes, come on now. Yes.
Wow.
What I do? Move Forever. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Like I like 7-Eleven right now.
Mm-hmm. And is she always your go-to pump up song?
Oh yeah, when I walk on stage, it's Diva.
Oh, Beyonce, inspiring in so many ways. I love it.
Oh my gosh, I love
her. Okay, so now that you have your confidence, when you're not feeling well, you're pumping up the music, you're feeling great, you're unstoppable. What's exciting you most about the future?
That I'm working on this really big project and I can't wait to launch it. I'm excited about that.
Are you allowed to say where it is or what it is without divulging too much? Like very generally speaking?
It's not a hotel. Everybody thinks it's not a hotel.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not a hotel. Yeah, so I can't wait to launch it. I've been working on this for years. So this is my new baby.
Okay, so that's exciting you.
Yeah.
When do you think?
Oh, and my little one.
Your 3-year-old?
I got a 3-year-old.
What's his name?
My baby. His name is Jameer. He is so famous. Do you know when I go to places, people, they don't even ask me. They was like, how's Jameer? I'm like, you never even met him before. He's famous already.
Oh, great. Well, I don't know him, so I can't wait to meet him also. So, okay, I want to go back. How old were you when you started playing clarinet?
Oh gosh. Maybe 13.
13.
I'm still playing it. So I bought one last year for Christmas. Wow. And I just been bringing it out. I don't know. It's just something.
Did you play in college too?
No, that was my mistake. I should have played in college. So, but I bought one and I just been kind of playing it. I still kind of got a little tune. I'm still working on getting my fingers, because for clarinet is something that's listening, you got to move your fingers fast. So in the embouchure. So I've been taking a little hiatus so I could get back on it. So I can get back focused.
So if you, the Davonne of today, went back to your 13-year-old self sitting in that first clarinet seat, and then you could talk to yourself, what advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
You do not know anything. You don't know anything. You need to listen.
Oh, now that's awesome. And what would your 13-year-old self say back to you?
Girl, you don't know what you talk about. Back then, I probably wouldn't have listened. what you talking about? I'm first year. But I would have told my 13-year-old self to enjoy the moment, enjoy the present. Listen to your grandma, listen to your daddy. My daddy was like really wise. I didn't realize that. So listen, read more. I wish I would have read more. I wish I would have talked to my godmother. She transitioned, but she was a sharp businesswoman. And talked to my aunt more. She passed away too. So at 13, that's what I would have told myself. Listen to them more and just be a sponge.
Yeah, then that's one of the things I love about doing these conversations too, is like, okay, I have 2 of these and 1 of these. So if I can just ask a couple of questions and really use these more, I can learn so much from everyone, just
now
like
I'm
you.
quiet more. I'm a sponge.
Well,
I'm
now,
like, okay.
Now, as soon as this conversation's over, I want to go like blast some Beyonce in my head.
I'm telling you,
get over
it. I'm a diva.
Get some of those old lasting projects off my plate that have just been sitting there, and maybe Beyonce will help me get the momentum to do it.
I get up and dance and everything. I walk through the lobby. My employees, they laugh at me. We never seen a hotel owner like you before.
Oh, that's awesome. So as I want you to also now look into your crystal ball as it relates to your properties, but also hospitality and travel as a whole, right? Here we are, it's the middle of June, summer travel is like happening. There's talks of recession, there's all this. Like, how are you seeing the hotel industry and travel right now?
I hate that word recession. I'm like, come on now, we just get through COVID. Come on now. Hey, how much more can our industry take? What I do see, even if there is a recession, I still think that the leisure market, I think that they're still going to travel. And I think they're still going to, they're going to stay at some, they're going to go to those drive-to destinations. Well, maybe not drive-to because gas is high, but they may, have staycations or I don't see a lot of the corporate. They say corporate is coming back, the corporate travel and the business travel, but I'm like, if it's a recession, it's not coming back. But I do see like leisure. Like I still see people, wanting to go to Miami or want to go to Florida, or they got kids. When you got kids, you got to get out the house. You got to figure it out. So maybe a budget. So folks could be staying at maybe less economical, or hotels that are more economical and affordable. So they may not be staying at full service, or maybe like economy, or maybe staying at those limited service hotels, places where they get free breakfast, those types of hotels. So I still see people traveling, even in a recession. It just may not be as much. But it's just because so many people have just been pent up in the house.
So I heard something interesting a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I went to this Skift, I forget what, Skift Global Conference, and I saw some higher ups from Highgate and also JLL talking about, okay, there's talk of a recession that is coming, but they were quite confident that it wasn't going to affect travel on a couple of different levels. One is there's so much of the pent up demand, like you were saying. The Fortune 500 or the real corporate travel hasn't taken off, and recession or not, they felt like it has to take, like those guys have to get back out to do whatever they got to do to keep their businesses growing. And then they also said something quite interesting, which was like last summer when everyone was pent up, they would go stay in these hotels. They might have been a bit run down because there's no housekeeping. There was no CapEx for a couple of years. This year, guests are going to be paying hundreds of dollars with their family vacation on their leisure trips. And I think the guests are going to become more discerning. Like they're going to want a more refreshed room. What are your thoughts on that?
They are. They're going to, like, I just stayed at a hotel this past weekend for a conference. It was the Swiss hotel. It was my first time staying there in Chicago. The rooms were nice. The service, they were busy. They had limited staff, just like the industry. The CapEx, I didn't see too much, of an issue. My hotels, we have some, wear and tear, not too much. for the newer hotel, but the older hotels, we just completed a renovation. We completed a guest room renovation. But I do think that folks are going to be upset with like smart TVs. Like it's going to be the CapEx, like, because if they've been pent up in the house so much, and a lot of folks, if they have smart TVs and they go to another hotel, I mean, if they travel, they're going to want that same experience. I think the biggest thing is they're going to want a clean room. The biggest thing is they're going to want service, right? Because, you know, I had to wait, you know, for towels and stuff. I understand, because again, I'm in the business, so it wasn't, I was like, I just can come downstairs and pick it up. Like it really wasn't a big deal to me. But then you have some people who like, I paid this, if I'm asking for, they may not understand, hey, we have limited staff. I can't bring you your towels. There's only like one person working the hotel. Like you're going to have to come downstairs to get it. Some people won't understand that. And that's not even just with the hospitality or the hotel industry. That's just like everywhere. Like there's still places where there's still limited workers, right? These folks have become entrepreneurs or just gone to different industries and they just don't want to come back. So I think we're going to face a lot. I think labor is probably going to trump CapEx, right? That's what I think. Yeah, I mean, because think about it, like when you're not in your room that long. But when you're in your room, you're going to want certain things and you're going to want it right now, you know, regardless of how, and then especially for the luxury hotels that are limited staff and those type of clientele, they expect the level of service. They don't care if it's COVID or not. Like they don't care. They want what they want, you know. I mean, if, you know, they may not see the wear and tear in the dresser, but they want their towels, you know, They want their spa. You know, they want their breakfast, like they want their room service. So that's why I think labor is going to trump CapEx.
Awesome. And then how do you, when I look at the labor market, I'm just like, I don't know how that gets fixed. What do you see?
I mean, our industry, we just got to pay more. I mean, it was some hotels I saw, they're starting at the front desk agents at $10 an hour. I'm like, that's how much I was getting paid 15 years ago. I just told you, I just got, and then I wasn't even getting that many raises when I was there. I think one time I got an 11-cent raise when I was working. Like I'm not worth a quarter. Like I get 11 cents. And it's some people that are still facing that. They're like, I mean, the people who are still, you know, working, they worked through COVID and they got, you know, a BS raise and or they don't feel appreciated and they're overworked. Nobody want to work in those conditions. Like it's an employee, not an employer. It's an employee market right now. So now some folks don't want to work. Some folks are not meant for the hospitality industry. I agree. They're not. They don't need to be here. So, and I think it's a labor issue, not just for the industry, just in general. I just, you know, some people, they just don't want to work in the service industry. When you work in the service industry, people are very mean. When you're in between them and their food, or when you're in between them and their guest room, they can become really nasty people. And so when you don't get compensated or when you don't, you know, feel appreciated, that takes a wear and tear on your mental. And especially if a lot of people were laid off during COVID and they were like, they had a lot of time to reflect. They got to see their families more.
Well, that's also what I think.
Work for this. Yeah.
I'm curious as to, you know, it was such a deep and steep recession in hospitality that, and then every time there is a recession, travel's the first thing to cut from families and businesses. Right. So I'm curious, like after this one, no matter how much you pay, I'm wondering if people actually want to come back into hospitality because they got stung so many times. But on the other side, I feel like it's the best time ever to come in because the labor pool is so thin that the path towards like a really cool career in a great industry, if you're wired for it, it's never been a greater time to get in.
Oh no, I agree. But like my nanny, she applied to work for a hotel. She got it. I guess being around me, she's like, "That's what I'm working for a hotel." I was like, "What, really?" And she loved it, right? And she worked at the front desk and she quit. I said, what happened? They wasn't accommodating with their schedule. Like she wanted to work. It's just that they weren't flexible with the schedule.
Mhm.
And I'm like, here we go again. Now I understand it's a business. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a business. One thing about her, she'll work. It was just that they weren't paying her enough to have one job. So she had to work another job. And I think sometimes companies need to be just a tad bit flexible because it takes much more to hire and train and keep that person. And it's like, okay, what can you do to kind of be creative and kind of make it work so that way you won't lose talent and constantly keep looking for people. You know, because that takes a wear and tear on the employees, that take a wear and tear on the guests, that guest experience.
Totally.
Constantly bringing people on and you got to train them, and you know, it's exhausting. Nobody wants to be bothered with that. Like I have patience for people who are in training. That's because I remember when I was in training, I know how hard it is, but not everybody have patience. They don't want to keep dealing with people that's in training. They want to check out their room, check in or whatever they need and be gone. They don't have time for people constantly being in training all the time.
Well, I also think it's one of those things where as people, our expectations are always changing. So in a way, it's like we always have to be open to training and learning because people, we are always changing and evolving. And how do we make sure everyone happy? Make sure everyone is happy. Hey, Davonne. So, I mean, this conversation, I know you want to just inspire one person. Well, count me inspired.
What? Yay.
And I'm just, I don't know, like I feel very pumped up after speaking to you. So I'm sure as this all gets out there, you're going to impact so many, you're already impacting a ton of people. You're going to continue to, if people wanted to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
On Instagram at Davonne Reaves. You go to my website, www.davonnegroup.com. Pretty much on all the social media platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram. I'm even on TikTok. So you can find me. I'm not. And the book,
we'll put the book up as well. At the end.
The book is also on Amazon, How to Buy a Book, A Roadmap to Hotel Ownership. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to give you a heartfelt thank you for your time and your energy, more importantly than your time, because your energy, like it just was like a laser beam filling me up. So thank you.
Yay.
And also, not most importantly, I want to thank our listeners. And I really hope that Davonnes Purpose has evolved your way of viewing hospitality as a means of impact. And again, this is all spread by word of mouth. So please, if this changed the way you think about hospitality, please send it along. And thank you, everyone. We will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you all so much for listening.